Hello, and welcome to another tier list video, where in this one, we're going to be going over every single Barbarian to exist in Heroes of Might and Magic 3, Horn of the Abyss. I'll be talking over why Barbarians are good, why I place them where they are, and I'll be comparing them to each other, basically. So, the first Barbarian on the list, and the most exceptional, unique, and beloved Barbarian to us all, is the Crackhack. He has one of the best specialties in the game, that is the offense specialty. It is super good. At level 20, it's like giving you an extra offense. It's actually super great. The specialty is to be reckoned with, and also this hero is one of the best templates for a hero throughout the entirety of the game. Now, actually, he's a little bit less consistent than Gunjula, the other specialist. However, he has way more potential to be good, The reason I say this is because at level 3, you're most likely going to be offered 2 new skills. And those 2 new skills could be really bad. Like, you could get offered, like, learning ballistics, and then you're stuck with a ballistic 0, which is not ideal. Still, Crackhack is basically gonna have that ballistics be as your secondary offense, but that means your specialty is kind of going to is invested to make up for the lack of other skills being as good. So because he actually only has advanced offense at start, it actually makes him somewhat less consistent, but still, even in the very worst case scenario, he is still a top tier Barbarian. And because of that, he deserves to be at the top of this list. Notoriously iconic hero, makes sense for his thematic, and he's actually amazing in almost every single way. I love my Crackhacks, okay? Next up is we have Boragas. Now, many of you would be saying, hey, I never seen this dude before. Who he? Well, he is actually a duke by lore, and he's also the ogre specialist. And ogre specialty is not really that special. It gives you a little bit of stats, but those stats are pretty usually you don't really take specialty for the stats. It doesn't provide you enough stats to make it worth it, at least for that reason. The reason you would pick him is because at least what the specialty provides you is 1 extra speed, and that 1 extra speed could be actually pretty influential. It's gonna make your ogres connect more reliably, more consistently, and that's all good. Specialty is not bad. He's also a tactics offense hero, and any hero starting off with these 2 skills is immediately gonna be good, especially if he's a barbarian. So this hero is actually really wonderful. He's not usually available in most templates and scenarios, but he can be especially enabled if the template designer actually wants it. Some good templates with Boragas available would be Shiva that I usually play in my free-for-alls, and so on. So Boragas actually is going to the top of the list as well. While talking about the tactics offense heroes, I also should mention Tyraxor, almost a carbon copy of Boragas, except he's way more handsome. Credit where credit is due, okay? He's way more handsome than Boragas. And also, he has the Wolf Raider specialty, which is a game changer. So many people actually do not value this enough, okay? Usually Boragas' specialty doesn't let him, reach any new thresholds of movement that would make it really good. It's only a convenience kind of thing. Meanwhile, for Tyraxor, it's a whole new issue, okay? In a regular game, when playing Stronghold, you usually pick your Tyraxor for the starting army over the Crackhack, and then you use the Wolf Raiders to annihilate the entire map. But the way that you usually get going in order to annihilate the map is you farm a Wolf Raider picket, and you know what enables you to do that? It is the specialty of Tyraxor to actually outspeed all the Wolf Raiders and be the fastest one around. And because of that, he is notoriously good at taking Wolf Raider pickets. And that is definitely not to be undermined. That specialty is amazing for mostly this purpose and, some other utility, convenience purposes. So because of that, he goes higher than Boragas, but still lower than Crackhack. For him to be competing with Crackhack in the first place, he has to be notoriously good. And he is, but he's no Crackhack anyway. Next up is we have the Gretchen, the Goblin Specialist of the Stronghold faction. She starts with a really good amount of army. If you get her with army, she also has offense and pathfinding as her starting skills. Pathfinding can be good, but in many scenarios she is not very good. Actually, very notoriously, Tower really likes her as a main, because Tower can, you know, they kind of want offense because they play off of genies and giants a lot. And they also want pathfinding because their terrain is very abysmal. Okay, you don't want to play that terrain. So apart from being good for tower, she's not the best for stronghold because, you know, you don't have that much penalty on stronghold. Not to mention you can avoid it in other ways, such as, you know, just micromanaging your army with other heroes, Wayfarer boots and so on, right? So basically, and even if you're suffering a turning penalty, it's not that big of a penalty that you would use an entire skill to avoid. At least that wouldn't be the most optimal way to do so. So I would say she's still a really good hero, but she would go into A tier in my opinion. Next up is we have the Gurnison. Well, my bad. How could I forget his wonderful name? Almost a carbon copy of the Tyraxor, his brother. I don't know if that's my lore, but that's what I like to imagine, okay? He starts off without the wolf stack, which is pretty horrible, so you don't really want to get him immediately. You also don't really want to pick him because there's better choices. He starts with offense artillery. He's actually very, very good to receive as a side hero, yeah, just really good for a side hero, as a side hero. He has 4 attacks, so he's able to make really good use of the ballista and the artillery that he starts with. Actually, the best class to make use of that, because ballista scales off of your attack. Their literal damage is based on your attack, not only like the attack portion of the scaling. So the more attack you have, the better any artillery bonuses are going to be. So Gurnison is the best artillery hero in the game, rivaled with Jeremy, you know. So most people would probably like Jeremy more because, you know, canon OP, but he's the best ballista hero. Okay, he's the best ballista hero in the game, okay? We are not including the cannon. So here we go. Because of that, he at least deserves the A tier. I would say in many scenarios you would like to main Gretchen, but in many scenarios as a side hero, you definitely want Gurnison. He can do a lot of things for you. Take sight downs, just provide you with a ballista and a good template for a hero. Usually I actually see this guy as a main in some dungeon games, some, you know, whatever else faction games that you might have. He's a pretty wonderful choice in many ways. Not a choice, actually no, not a choice. He's a wonderful possibility, but he's not usually the primary choice. But still, he's a barbarian that with very good upside, so 8M. Next up is Boragas. Now, this guy deals a whopping lot of damage. He starts with archery, offense, okay? So, not only is he a barbarian with 4 attack at the start, and he gains like attack pretty much almost every level up because that's what barbarians do, he also has both the damage skills. Dude, like, whenever you're maining this guy, you do such a ridiculous amount of damage, and not only on your melee attacks, but also on your range attacks, and that feels pretty good. And I usually underrate this guy, and I don't really main him enough, but he's very, very wonderful, and whenever you are looking to have a ranged ball stack, you should be considering this guy really, really heavily. As a barbarian, of course, he's going to be rolling other good skills. He already starts with 2 great skills, and he's a barbarian, so pretty good to go. I would say he is S tier as well. Next up is we have the Kilgore. This guy is an ancient, I mean not an ancient, just a behemoth specialist. He gives behemoths 5 attack, 5 defense skill, and 10 flat damage. What? I mean, behemoths are already monsters, but this guy just takes it to a new level. And flat damage bonuses are definitely not to be underrated. It's huge. But then again, he's not available in most scenarios unless the template specifically activates him. And also, to make use of his specialty in the first place, you have to go up to your tier 7 unit. Granted, it's pretty easy for the stronger faction to do compared to most others. It's still like quite a bit of an investment. And also, he starts with the downside of having a 1 advanced skill instead of 2 good skills, meaning that he is very vulnerable to getting an abysmal skill on level 3 and be stuck with it for the entire game. So because of that, he doesn't build as well as the other barbarians, and he has nothing to make up for that. So as much as the Crackhack at least. If you get him to be good, he can be really good, and then in a behemoth game, I would actually find him amazing. But he's not consistent enough, in my opinion. So because of that, I would put him at A tier. And next up is we have the Krillian. This guy is one of the best heroes in a mirror match, okay? Mirror templates end up having like really close final battles where some simple and things can end up influencing the game. I mean, it can swing the game in one of the ways. Interference goes a really long way to winning mirror matches, and guaranteeing it from the start while also having a really good template for a hero as a barbarian is actually pretty nice and pretty strong. One of the players that I usually play against and respects is Fezziak. Really love this guy. He would main this guy every time, almost no matter what, if he ever sees him. But I say he fetishizes him a little bit too much. I respect him as a hero. He's really good. But I personally don't like him too much. But I still respect his power. So I would say he goes into high A tier. There we go. Next up is the Shiva, the rock specialist. And the rock specialist ends up having the scouting skill, I mean alongside the offense, of course, because of Barbarian. And she ends up being pretty decent. She is actually one of the first go-to choices after Crackhack as a main for Stronghold, at least in mirror matches. In a mirror match, you would usually ban Gunjula, Crackhack, Tyraxor, and Gretchen. And then Shiva would be one of the first natural picks after Gunjula. So she actually gets quite a bit of representation in many games, and she ends up being a really good hero. Scouting is pretty underrated. It's a very useful skill, and of course as a barbarian, she's gonna be automatically really good. So I would say she also belongs in the A tier. And next up is we have the Yogg. Oh, Yogg. He starts off with offense ballistics. Surely the shortest end of the stick for this hero. He's a cyclo specialist, and the cyclo specialty could be decent. I don't know. Most usually ranged creatures don't really care that much about speed unless they're specifically looking to outspeed something, such as Ivor is looking to outspeed the Wolf Raiders in a picket. In that case, the specialty for him on the ranged creatures ends up being really influential, but Yogg doesn't really push for anything like that, so the speed is not really influential. You don't gain that much stats, so the special doesn't make up for the really horrible skill that he starts with. So, but still, he's a barbarian, so he's gonna be pretty good, but not as good as almost anyone else. So this would be the barbarian tier list, and as you can see, despite some of them being not really that good, just through the power of being a barbarian, they are really sought after and really great heroes. You should be maining these guys really often. You should be picking them up, using them. They are almost all of them amazing heroes. And even the worst, absolute worst of the barbarians is gonna be at least B tier. So with that, much respect to barbarians. Great class. Thematically, gameplay, in every which way. Super well done, super strong. Use them every time. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll be going over the other classes as well. I hope you're looking forward to this, and check me out on Twitch. I'll be live almost every single day. So take care, until the next one.